Hello and welcome to Autumn Crone. I'm Val, and welcome to Am I in Perimenopause or Not event like that. Um, so I am a naturopath, herbalist, life coach. I'm a diploma in life coach, and I'm studying counselling. So finish next year. So for those that don't know me, I'm Val. I found out halfway, like not even halfway, but I found out early, was it last year? I was looking, I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia and I was doing some research. I spent a lot of time in bed. I also have adenomyosis, or had adenomyosis. I had a hysterectomy nearly 12 months ago. But, and I also found out a year ago I have endometriosis. Explains a lot. But anyway, early last year, or might have been the year before. Anyway, I was on YouTube and I found a video that was on the lines of, I can't remember, probably about fibromyalgia and perimenopause. And I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'll have a look at that. Anyway, so I looked at it and it changed my life. So, I quickly messaged Dave and said, oh my gosh, I don't know if it is fibromyalgia or if it's perimenopause, because it sounded, my symptoms and what I was experiencing and feeling really aligned more and made more sense with the perimenopause than fibromyalgia. And also, um, so I am an early starter of perimenopause. Mine was probably mid-ish 30s because I had my last baby at 36 and she was an emergency cesarean, and it's sort of like after that it just never went back. Nothing was ever the same again. So I was in it for a fair few years, and yeah, I got really sick and spent a lot of time in bed. Dave took care of everything. Um, yeah, it really hard. But I saw a specialist last year and I'm on some medication, which I will talk about later on, not in this video, but on the page, because it's an antidepressant for pain, but it's actually had some really great effects on my mental health too. So, yeah, so once I found out about perimenopause, and I even had a friend a few years earlier than that in my mid 30s, and she said to me, Val, you sound like you got perimenopause. I'm like, oh, okay. Didn't know much about it. And even as I studied naturopathy, Western herbal medicine, back in the olden days, I was a nurse. And you knew about menopause. It was, your period stopping, um, and hot flushes, night sweats, all that kind of stuff. But that was kind of the extent of it. It really wasn't much more than that. And there was definitely nothing about this perimenopause stuff and how it can be quite traumatic for some women. Some women breathe through it. Everyone's unique in their journey. And yeah, it's for some women it can go on for 10 plus years. So menopause's definition is a 1 year anniversary. It's only for one day. It's a 1 year anniversary since your last 12-month bleed. So 1 year without it. And if you get bleeding after that, really definitely need to get investigated by a doctor. So, and you've got to love perimenopause brain. So we will be talking about that. So I do, and I'm talking about it more honestly. It is vulnerable. We're just forgetting stuff, kind of that self-talk of feeling silly and stupid, even though I know what I'm talking about. But it's like your brain and mouth just have this, they're just on different wavelengths and they're just not connecting. So, and that is part of perimenopause too. So there is that, that brain fog, lack of concentration, forgetfulness, like I thought I was going crazy. So, but as I found out more about perimenopause and, Dave and I researched it, it was kind of like, why wasn't this, why wasn't why don't we know about this? Why isn't it spoken about? It kind of feels like a taboo subject. And, mothers aren't even telling their daughters about it. It's not until I ask questions, and even then it's like, oh, it's not really spoken about. And I'm like, well, why not? Every single person that was assigned as a female at birth, I hope I said that right, will go through menopause, perimenopause to menopause and postmenopause. It's kind of like puberty. I mean, there's always exceptions to the rules, okay? It's like puberty. For us women, puberty is our first change of life. Perimenopause is our second change of life. We know about puberty. Puberty happens around, give or take, 7 or 8. Seems to be happening earlier these days. Up to sort of, even 15, 16-year-olds are getting their first period at that age. It's sort of coming a lot less rare, getting early. Some girls it's like 6, 7. Like, fuck. But anyway, So, and we go through puberty and it takes time. Like, we just don't wake up one day, you know, bodies change. We've got curves, got a waist, got hips, boobs, um, underarm hairs and hairs in other places. And I don't know, you always hear a lot of parents talking about their moody teenager and attitude and all that kind of stuff. And it's not much different. Like, we're kind of doing the same thing because, as we go through puberty, it's our body waking up to more of the female sex hormones. It's also triggering fertility. Like, our eggs are created in our ovaries when we're in our mum's stomach. What in that time, whatever is produced, that is all you have. It is not like an endless supply or anything like that. And as you get near the end of your um, eggs, and it's different for everyone. And like I was saying, perimenopause can be 10 plus years. I've got an amazing friend who's going 16 years with it. Gets very close to that anniversary, and bam, another period comes. Have big gaps, and then you can be like 11 months, and if you get your period at 11 months, your clock starts again. It starts back from zero from the first day of your period. So and at any time, if you're watching the replay or anything like that, you have questions, please do ask. Pop in, say hello. I'd love to connect. If there's things you want to know about, or if I've mentioned something or talked about something and you'd like to either know more about it or more clarity around it because I haven't explained it properly, I'm all cool with that. Totally get that. Just let me know, because I really want to make sure that, I'll find, if I don't know, I'll find somewhere that does. And, I don't know everything. Um, so this one is about, am I in perimenopause or not? Because it's the hugest question asked. And I am going to do a lot of comparing to puberty because we've all been through it. And so just to try and bring into it that, perimenopause is a big thing. And look, there are some women that just their period stops, that's it, life just goes on. They can't work out why. It'd be nice if they could. But for some of us, it's on the scale of that's awesome, period just stops, that's it, and to live in nightmare hell. And, women losing their careers, their marriages, loved ones in their life, and just it can be horrible. So, but the thing is too, with the medical profession, doctors too aren't really trained on it either. So they probably got as much training as what I did. Like, my doctor will sit there and say, I'm 42. No, you're not 51, so you can't be. But I had a gynecologist who did my hysterectomy and endometriosis excision surgery. He picked it up easily, straight away. And he's a specialist, so go figures. So the doctors don't, but I do need to say that I am not a doctor. I cannot diagnose you with perimenopause, but at the same time, perimenopause is not a freaking disease. You don't hear puberty said as disease. It's a change of life. We learn about puberty. There's books about puberty. There's little videos about puberty, and birds and the bees and all that kind of stuff. They're taught about health and sex ed and all that sort of stuff in school. They're a lot more, they're learning lots more these days. So, so why isn't there the emphasis on perimenopause? And not just women needing to know, men need to know too. How can men or partners be loving and supporting, compassionate and empathetic if you don't even know what's going on, right? So this is where awareness and knowledge is powerful, and especially just knowing, perimenopause or not. The question is, and I haven't, okay, so we've got 6 children ranging from 6 to 19. So, majority of them have gone through or going through, some still going through puberty. But not once have I taken them to the doctor for it, unless there's something. And there is, as puberty, there is some things, there's things like endometriosis, there's things like polycystic ovarian syndrome, there can be hormonal issues and all this kind of stuff. I'm not talking about those exceptions to the rule, because there are, right? There's some women that girls aren't born with a uterus or eggs, or, there's a deficiency and all that sort of stuff. So even though I can say perimenopause can start, I normally say mid-30s and up. But for some girls, women, they get to like that age of puberty in their teens and they don't develop and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not talking about that. And that does happen. So it's really good to be aware of some girls sort of develop or they just then go straight into perimenopause in their teens. Like, that's a lot different than that is a menopause thing, but it's also a deficiency. It's not how we majority of us normally develop. I don't want to say normal because how insulting being called normal. So so why aren't we told about perimenopause? I mean, I have some theories, and I might share them in my rambles because I love sharing my rambles because they're just like my thoughts that go around and things I'm contemplating, and it really helps me to write it, to type it out, and it's like journaling, get it out, and all that sort of stuff. Um, but yes, okay. So I do have some notes in front of me, and I will be looking at them because I could be on here for a long time talking about perimenopause. I get on my a bit of a high horse, my passionate high horse with it. It really, there's so many women out there. Like I'm in a lot of groups, so I see a lot more anecdotal evidence. So that's people's experiences over the science kind of thing. So all the difference. So, wishing they'd known about perimenopause. I've heard women, with suicidal ideations. And yes, suicide rate for women is the highest between 45, 50-ish for women. Slap bang in perimenopause. And I get it. And I understand. And, like, don't get me wrong, I get with suicide. Like my nana and my mum did it when I was teenager. So, it's pretty full on. You know. So, but I want to talk about the suicide. I wasn't going to, but I'm like, no, we really need to be talking about this. We need to be shining light on this. We need to be helping women and supporting each other and, just talking to, I've got another girlfriend. Oh my God, she's amazing. I've known her for decades. And, when we get together, it is the best. We have these perimenopause conversations and we laugh about things, hot sweats, what is it, night sweats and all that kind of stuff, or just, loss of libido and just how we're feeling and things coming up. And, it's just like, it's fun kind of, and it's therapeutic. I actually do want to, at some stage down the track, organise like a perimenopause get-togethers, in person, but between the business and studying and family, it's like, holy crap. But it's all these dreams and to make a difference and really get it out there. So with perimenopause, do you need to be diagnosed with your doctor? No, you don't. Do you take your children, or were you taken to the doctor for puberty? Like, I haven't taken any of our kids to the doctor for puberty. I mean, there was one of our kids had really bad acne because of it. So again, yes, that was like seeing a specialist and all that kind of stuff. So there are little exceptions to the rules, but I didn't take her to the doctor for anything else. Like we're very conscious of our daughters because endometriosis can be hereditary, and I know it's in the family. So I'm really like talk about periods a lot and all that sort of stuff. And I've even said to the older daughter that she doesn't want kids apparently, but oh cool. But if you wanted kids, leaving them to sort of like later in life, like your 40s and all that sort of stuff, may not be doable because it seems like in our family, perimenopause comes more in the mid to late 30s. So, if that's the case, maybe look at freezing eggs or anything like, Mum, I don't want to have kids. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm just letting you know. I want to give you the choice. Don't, some women get to, their late 30s and 40s and go, all right, I want to start a family now, but are in perimenopause. You can still fall pregnant in perimenopause. It's a little bit harder. Some, you always hear about the change of life babies, perimenopause babies. So, yeah, you do still need to be contraceptive aware if you don't want to have children. But if you do want to have children, it can be a little bit challenging. I recommend sort of seeing a specialist. So back to the doctor is also I do feel like if you think you're in perimenopause, you're probably not. But the thing is, with a lot of the symptoms, and we're going to go through an extensive list of some symptoms, and there are some weird ones there and that, but some of us may not be weird, maybe are normal. So, I do feel I'm not one of these naturopath herbalists that think, oh, we must see the natural and, the doctors are bad or whatever. No, I think, they both have a purpose. They both can be integrated together beautifully, as long as you've got practitioners and doctors that are open. I think it can be really of a great benefit. So, like if I fall and break my bone, touch wood, I have never broken a bone, touch wood. I'm not going into my herbal dispensary or anything like that. I'm going to the hospital. I'm getting the drugs, the pain medication. You know, do believe in both. So, my herbs aren't going to help me that way. So, they do. But I do feel like because a lot of the signs and symptoms for perimenopause can be signs and symptoms for a lot of other health issues. For example, like, yes, some of mine. So one of the key, one of the, probably one of the first for some, and guess the thing is with these, what we're going through is everybody's unique in their journey. It's like saying teenagers go through puberty exactly the same. And if you've got a couple of them, no, they're all different. So it's different for us as well. So with these symptoms that we will go through, again, a lot of them can be mistaken. Like, I had adenomyosis, endometriosis. Interestingly enough, once I had my hysterectomy, a lot of my symptoms did calm down. Like, I had a lot of sensitive skin. Something like one of my kids touched me like this. I'm like, oh my God, that hurt. And he's like, Mum, I only tapped you. And I'm like, the sensitive skin. So after I had the hysterectomy, I did notice a lot of my symptoms really calmed down a lot. Still got a few, but and I had endometriosis, so that explains painful periods, acne since I was 11, and a few other things that makes a lot of sense in my life. So it's still good to have a checkup because at the end of the day, let's talk about women's health. Let's talk about especially reproductive health. You could, and I did think, I didn't want to talk about this. I'm like, no, we need to talk about the health of it. Because some of these signs or some of these symptoms, can be things for like ovarian, cervical, cancers, like, so it needs to be checked. It also, pap smears, I've seen someone die from cervical cancer and it's one of the most horrible deaths I've seen. So as a nurse, I've worked in aged care, as an aged care trained, dementia trained, but I also work like up here in the public hospitals, rehabs, spinal unit, all that kind of stuff. A lot of suicide watches and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I did see a lovely lady die of cervical cancer, and so it was horrible and very painful. And yeah, so get your pap smears done. I don't have a cervix, and there was nothing wrong with my cervix when it was tested, so I don't have to have them anymore. But you know what? For the uncomfortableness and the vulnerability of getting one to dying from cervical cancer, it's worth doing. So going to your doctor, it could be fibros. You could have fibroids, which can cause bleeding. So one of the symptoms for most women is there's changes in their period cycle. So again, generally, at early stages of perimenopause, it can be that your periods actually get shorter in length, right? I know, crazy. So it can get shorter, it can get heavier, it can get more painful. PMS symptoms can be exacerbated, like steroids exacerbated in perimenopause. So, again, like they can be the early signs, but as you sort of go through perimenopause, it goes the opposite way where your periods start getting further and further apart. Again, this is with periods getting more, bleeding more. I know for mine, I ended up having iron transfusion. Yes, iron infusion, not transfusion. I always get them confused. I've had iron infusions because of low blood, because of the bleeding. I think it's roughly about 60 mils, roughly a woman will shed in one period. I think on mine, I was using a cup because I knew I was going to the hospital and I knew I needed to track some things and write some things down to put my story forward. And I think on day one, I got out of my cup, not in the cups, I emptied it a couple of times. I really recommend the cups, they can be really cool. And so much good on the environment and all that kind of stuff. But the cups, I got 110 mils in one day, and that was the minimum because there was spillage and it overflowed and just crime scene periods and all that sort of stuff. So that was day one, and I bled for 7 days. So that is actually the adenomyosis, and so that can be a symptom, but definitely go get it checked by your doctor. I really do feel that if you're feeling changes in your body, not sure what's going on, go get a health check with your doctor. Go get just a set of bloods, just to have it check out on how things are going. Get your pap smears, make sure you're doing breast checks. Lots of changes are happening. So, definitely I would recommend going and having a health check first. Generally, if everything comes back clear, some women might have low iron, thyroid, most of it comes back. Yes, you can test your hormones. However, it is completely inaccurate in the perimenopause phase because you're fluctuating, and this is what's happening. It's not like a period, like textbook style, 28 days and all that sort of stuff. When you're going through perimenopause, your estrogen's dropping, and it does it sporadically. You know what I mean? It isn't. There's no system or pattern to it. It just drops, right? And then that's when the estrogen drops. You generally know if you're really feeling perimenopause. Because all of a sudden, like, I'll have a headache, I'll be angry and enraged, and all that sort of stuff. And that what happens to also, other hormones in your body play a part in all this too, because there's an increase in diabetes in perimenopause because of the insulin resistance and all that kind of stuff. So, but as the estrogen drops, things like cortisol, our fight, and freeze hormone, our stress hormone, will shoot up because estrogen does amazing things in our body when it's in its therapeutic dose. Women that sometimes have too much estrogen or estrogen excess, things like polycystic ovaries is kind of common in that one for that. And there's other things, you know what I mean? But if it's too low, it's not good. So I'm talking about estrogen in a really happy therapeutic dose your body is producing. So when it drops, cortisol goes up. You feel stressed. I do notice with that, things like rage and anger come up, like insatiable, like very primal. So as the hormones dip and change, they just change. What happens is, because we're a society that runs on stress, we high-five people that put their health, put everyone else first over their health and all that sort of stuff. Oh, wasn't she great? She worked herself to death. Just, she gave herself so much that she got into an early grave. Really? How cool is my cup? This is from Michelle Plato, Botanical Cottage. So cool. And so it's that. It's a cushion, but I'm just hiding some crap under there so it looks good. And that's a pretty cool picture. So we've got to go cushion shopping and get it. So, all right. So with perimenopause, am I in it or not? So when you go to the doctors and your test all come back clear, generally you're going to be more than likely perimenopause. And it's really important to track your cycle or track your symptoms. And this goes for even women that had hysterectomies and still have ovaries, because if they take your ovaries out, then you're going into instant medical menopause. So instant, that's it. But you'll still get symptoms because your body's going to adjust, because your ovaries are the ones that produce estrogen. However, what's meant to happen in our bodies is, as we go through perimenopause and we're getting these hormone fluctuations, estrogen's doing its happy up and down dance, right? On our kidneys is a gland called adrenal glands. They're only really little, but they are so important. They're the ones that help produce the cortisol, the stress hormones. But we live in a very adrenally fatigued society. People are constantly on the go, drinking stimulants, working harder. And, especially at the moment, we've just come out of a pandemic, and then there's stuff that's still going on, the effects from it. we pardon me, run on a lot of stress hormones. So what happens when the hormones in the adrenal glands, the hormones produce a couple of different types of hormones, like the sex hormones and what? One of the hormones it produced is estrogen, right? And there is different types of estrogen as well. So there's ones from your ovaries, and there's one on your adrenal glands, there's some in your fat. And then, depending on when you're pregnant, and, these things, there's three or four. No, I don't have brain. Perimenopause moment. So, these hormones all fluctuate and make a difference. But the problem is with the adrenals, the main hormone it does is your stress hormone. So it will prioritize that. So generally, if you've got a low libido, if your libido drops, check your stress levels. Because even I find if I'm stressed, my sex drive drops, perimenopause drops it even more. But if I'm in a place where I'm not feeling stressed or anything like that, I'm feeling relaxed and, feeling some more of those happy hormones, then my sex drive goes up, right? But so that's a really good way to see how stressed out you are. You see, check your sex drive. But also too, these. So what happens as the estrogen drops from the ovaries? Generally, if we're not running on our adrenals, it produces a bit of estrogen to help subtly with the perimenopause changes. However, if you're running on your adrenals and your adrenals are a little tired, they are fatigued, then that estrogen is not going to get produced out of the adrenals and help you with the fluctuations from your ovaries in those symptoms. So you're going to feel it really hard generally. So, I know one of the things really looking at is mental health and perimenopause, hence part of the reason why I'm doing studying counselling is to really get more into the mental health aspect as well, but using lifestyle and naturopathy and herbs to support that as well. So anyway, um, so yes, get the doctor to check. I don't diagnose; it's out of my scope of practice, and it's always good to go to the doctors. Even take your blood test if you go see a naturopath or anything like that. Because with naturopaths with blood test ranges, what the normal range is for the Western, for naturopaths, it's generally smaller. Like we like to get it into a bit more of a higher, not higher, but more of a therapeutic dose closer to the number. So yes, definitely go to your doctor if everything comes back all normal, and even if your doctor tells you no, you're not in perimenopause because you're not 51, right? Do you really need a diagnosis of perimenopause? No, you don't. You do if you require some medications, like HRT, hormonal replacement therapy, or it's MRT, menopause replacement therapy. So I can briefly talk about HRT or MRT. Was it MHT, menopausal hormone therapy, something like that. But I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose, and I don't do prescriptions of those type of medications. Am I for? I can't have it because my endometriosis is being recommended, and I don't want to take it anyway. And I'm still having issues with my endometriosis and all that sort of stuff, so I'm still seeing a specialist. It's a freaking horrible disease, but anyway, so anyway. So yeah, do you need a diagnosis? It's up to you if that's something that's important to you. You don't. It's like, did you get diagnosed with puberty? Do you see or have you or know, especially mums, in the mum community, do you take your kids, oh, I think, is my kid in puberty or not, unless they're out of the exception to the rules. No, you don't. But it is good to get a health check. So, and that way then, because people that have done health checks, that things have popped up that could save their lives. So please do get a health check. Please get your pap smear. Go get a health check from your doctor. Check out your bloods. And this is why it's really important to track your cycle or your symptoms each day. Just I got this off. I think it's from Kmart. This it was from one of our kids for Christmas, and it is a weekly wellness journal. So it's just oh yeah, some stuff I wrote yesterday about TAFE. Bit overwhelmed, but anyway, that's just the way they run it. So yeah, so I write down, let me look. Just little things. I was getting endo niggles. Noticed my skin was clearing up, or I'm getting a bit more acne, because acne can start again. That's another symptom. Had a bit of stress because the washing machine broke. All that sort of stuff. What have I been eating? Have we been drinking? Have been intimate? Whether we're doing the gym, we have a little gym out in the garage. I'm not a gym junkie. I'm only doing it for my health. Yeah, headache, migraine, which was interesting because I was in Capricorn moon. But yeah, so keeping a journal like that. So what Dave and I are doing, yes, we're going to go back to the specialist, but we're also looking to say the endo, where that is. We're actually for the last, we're like, oh, hang on a minute. The reason why it was so good for 3 months is because I was on Zoladex, I was on cancer medication for my endo, and went off it because it was horrible. I didn't even last 6 months. I only last 3 months on it because it was that bad. So that put my ovaries to sleep, we reckon, for 3 months. The pain started, and now we're starting to see a pattern. It's coming every sort of 2 months. there's only one bad day and niggles, So when we go back to the specialist, it'll be like, this is what's happened. It happened at 3 months. This is what happened at this month. The medication was increased. This is what happened. So you're walking in there telling them this is what's going on. And like you can see now, I don't remember everything. And it's really frustrating because I feel so stupid at times. And that's why it really knocked my confidence, because I'm like, I know these things. These are things I know and I want to share. But when I go to talk about it, they don't come out. And I feel very stupid because I'm like, I know the answer. I know what I want to share. But there's a bit of they're on different paths, different wavelengths, that I can't get it out. So, so it's really good to document things, and I also have another diary. I love diaries. Leading my inner Virgo out, getting organized. So it's actually a Hogwarts one. It's really cool. It's from Typo. Really good price. So I've got tabs in there for days and that. But I write things daily. So it is like a day a page, and I really wanted a day a page because like pick up kids' school books, shopping, library, things I need to do, or things I want to do. I don't like calling them to-do lists, because I think when we to do, my Aquarian rising is a bit rebellious and doesn't like told what to do. So I call it more of a guide list. If I get it done, I get it done. If I don't, it's more like it's just there to help me to remember, because I will forget. And then I forget, and then I spiral out of control in my mental health, and I'm forgetful and I can't get anything done. But when I have time, I forget. A lot of mental stuff in my head, I tell you. So I write stuff down, and I do like having little tick boxes. And I really like the monthly ones too, because I can do a bit of a month overhaul. And then I have another calendar in my business folder for posts and stuff like that. I have a lot of calendars on the go. I'm not sure how to go put it into one, but on this one, one of my kids' birthday, appointments, the membership opening, and then school classes, all that kind of stuff. So I just have it to write in it. And I check it overnight or throughout the day, and I'm like, oh, what do I have to do? Oh yeah, I forgot I was going to do that. Cool, I'm glad that's written down, because I would have forgotten that and I wouldn't have got that done, and I would like to get that done. But if I don't get it done, it doesn't matter. It's just there as a guide. It's to help guide me throughout my day to get the stuff that I really wanted to do, but I forget on the day to do. So that has been a really huge tip for me of really embracing my Virgo, like long lists, they're all symptoms and stuff like that. I love lists, I love writing things down. So I found a way that it works for me, and it helps me to feel good. All right, so let's keep going. Learning about it can bring clarity. You're not going crazy. That was one thing I thought I was going crazy. And when I had suicide that runs so strongly in my family, I thought I was going crazy. And I may say that lightly now, but at the time, I was really scared. Like, I thought I was dying. I was really unwell. And I thought I was going crazy. And I remember saying a day, like, whatever happened to my nan and my mum, I think it's happening to me. I can't stop it. Doesn't matter how proactive I've been all my life, seeing psychologists, counselors, doctors, about my mental health. I really thought it was happening to me, and it was scary, especially when my nana, I think I was about 12 when my nana suicided, and my mum was 17. There's other things involved there, but it was really scary. But then when I found out it was perimenopause, I'm like, yes, I'm not going crazy. Although this feels like it's going to last forever, it's not going to last forever. And this is the thing, we need more postmenopause women, Crohn's, to come and share their story, to share their wisdom, to pass it on to us that are sort of like, when you're having perimenopause symptoms that are quite intense and they're years on end, you feel like you're just a shadow or a skeleton of your old self. It's really with your mind and your life and all that sort of stuff. So, knowing that it's perimenopause is power to you. It helps you to go, okay, it's cool. Perimenopause helps me when I'm having a drop in hormones and I'm feeling rage and anger. And I mean rage and anger, like so primal, so intense. Like you're like, but nothing's causing it. And I'll just say to Dave, oh, I'm feeling irritable, feeling moody, or I'm feeling anger or rage. I've learned by telling him it takes the power out of it. And I'm like, nothing's on my mind. I cannot work it out. It must be perimenopause. I must be having a hormonal fluctuation, because there's nothing mentally that I can think of going on in my life, or maybe there's some little things contributing to it, but not to the intensity that it comes through. So, that's another tip, is talking about it. And that's why, we are opening up on a membership, because that way women come in and go, I'm feeling like crap, blah, 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 and have support, or sharing stories. So, yeah, so we need more post-menopause women coming out and sharing our stories, so we can sort of go, oh, okay, cool, this is going to end. And, asking them what did they do, and, sharing, like, this is what it is. It's coming back and sharing. And I don't want to say just secret women's business, because men need to know about this too. How can our men's be supportive, and it doesn't mean partner man, it could be brother, father, uncle, colleagues, whoever. How can any of the men in our life support us, be compassionate if we don't know what's going on? Like, we need to learn what's going on so we can educate them, we can share with them, so they can be compassionate and understanding and empathetic to it. I look back now, especially, I've worked in childcare, I'm a qualified childcare worker and a nurse back in my early 20s. And I can reflect back on women that were older at the time, and I thought they were just, a bit of a bitch, had a bit of issues. Now I look back and, oh my God, they must have been perimenopause, and I feel so terrible that I didn't know and wasn't able to better be a bit more understanding, a bit more compassionate. I was very fiery, very opinionated. I still am. But I've learned to do it in a bit of a different manner, and not as loud and boisterous with my opinions. If people don't want to hear them, that's cool. I'm all good. So all the talking. So talking about it. So, if you think you're in perimenopause, look it up, go into details, and then let your family know. Like I talked about it to our daughter, the youngest daughter, obviously too young to know about that. Like she knows about periods and stuff like that, but the whole menopause, and I tell the kids how I'm feeling, the menopause, hot flushes, just so they're aware of it. And they're like, oh yeah, whatever. And we talk about poo a lot, being a nurse and naturopath. Poo is really important. You need to be looking at it. Don't know why you're embarrassed about it. It's a society belief. It's part of it. It's it's kind of like taking out your rubbish. You need to know what it looks like to be able to, by looking at it and knowing about it, you can sort of gives you an idea what's going on the inside. Like if you've got food that's not if you've got undigested food in your poo, then your digestive system's not working optimal, and it's not, because just because you eat something doesn't mean your body fully absorbs it. It's kind of like turmeric, curcumin, the real orange stuff, and stains everything. You know, it's an amazing herb. It's one I think that like everyone should be on it. It's a beautiful herb. It's just beautiful. But to eat cumin, yes, you can eat it, but it's not very easily absorbed into the body. However, if you have like cracked pepper, when you have the cumin, that cracked pepper helps the body to absorb more of it. So yes, you may be like, like Popeye eating the spinach, giving you iron, but vitamin C is really good to have with ions to help absorb it. So just because you're eating something does not necessarily mean your body's absorbing it properly. It's even like supplements, all those expensive supplements and all that. They're beautiful, they're fantastic, they have a place when used correctly. But at the same time, if your gut's not up to working efficiently, we've heard of oh my God, I just got that. What's called gut issues. Oh my God, I've had a blank. Anyway, gut issues. So, and I'll talk more about that. At another time with the gut issues, there's so many aspects I can go off and on a tangent. Let's see, I've been on for 38 minutes. I haven't even read out the symptoms. So yeah, so you're not going crazy, knowing about it's good. Yeah, so we talked about that. Yeah, and also too, I'm learning like perimenopause is about learning about your body. How often do you listen to your body? Perimenopause is for slowing down. The reason for weight gain is because our metabolism's slowing down. It's your body's telling you it's time to slow down. This fast, quick-paced, run on adrenal life is killing us. It's making us really sick. These perimenopause symptoms can be lessened or not at all by the lifestyle choices we make and all that kind of stuff. So, and stress is really a crazy one. But when you listen to your body, what does your body need? Sometimes it needs to go for a walk. Sometimes it needs to rest. Rest is another one to talk about, and another society one to kick in the ass that is no good. even I struggle with rest. It's necessary. It's a necessity. Our body needs to rest. That's how cells rejuvenate and all that. When you're not resting, that's where you get cells that multiply and they dis- no, that's not right. They just start to change, like they might oxidize or things aren't replicating properly because your body hasn't rested enough to be able to produce that. And that's where things start going wrong: inflammation, cancers, disease, dis-ease, and all that sort of stuff. So it's really important. Um, so yeah, listening to your body when it needs to rest. Pain is normally a good one. It's an indication something's going on. Painful periods are not normal too. On the pain thing, painful periods are not normal. It really is a myth. It needs to be busted, and doctors need to be a bit more aware that painful periods are not normal. They're not. But we shouldn't be sucking them up. There's issues going on. So, but listening to your body can really make a difference in what's going on. Is your body thirsty? Is it hungry? Does it need to move? Is it a bit stiff and it's a bit sore? So listening to your body is one of my biggest number one, like up there with my number one tips. I don't think there's just one thing, it's multiple things. That's why here at Autumn Crone, it's about looking at your lifestyle. So not everyone's the same. It might be tweaking what you eat, tweaking how you work your body, because body movement is really important, as we know. I've never been a big one, but since perimenopause, we've got a gym at home now. I'm not doing it for my body. Like, I know I've got extra weight on, medication's not helping, and I just don't give a shit anymore. The beautiful thing about perimenopause, I'm not defined by my size. So, where was I going? So yeah, weights. So with weights, with body movement, exercise is what I call it body movement. It sounds so much nicer than exercise. It's like a dirty word. Anyway, so body movement is important. However, when you go through perimenopause, things like cardio are not good. So if you're doing a lot of cardio, running, high impact like HIIT and all that sort of stuff, high impact, fast kind of sports, in your perimenopause, that's actually going to cause you more stress on your body. Remember we said as estrogen drops, cortisol goes up, so you're feeling more stress. And if you're doing stressful impact on your body, you're raising more adrenal, so you're going to feel more like crap. You're going to be putting on more weight and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of exercise is not your number one. And anything that is high impact, fast, or, perimenopause, we're slowing down. Slowing down is good. You get to notice so many things and enjoy life a lot more. Really contemplate things and just really, rather than just it all flying by and rushing. So the best kind of exercise is weight resistance. And doing weights, trust me, like to turn into like a bodybuilder, you really, and doing bodybuilding is actually really unhealthy. When they do those shows, they're at the most dehydrated and most unhealthy time of their life. It's really unhealthy. So with weight resistance, like I'm not doing it. I don't want to bulk up and all that sort of stuff. I'm not into that. That's just my choice. But we do it because what happens is osteoporosis, so thinning of the bones, is one of the side effects from our cortisol dropping, not cortisol, estrogen dropping, and there's more cortisol and all that sort of stuff. So what happens when you do? So you've got bone and muscles that are attached to it. So our muscles start. What's the word? Oh my god! You start losing muscle mass. I think it's from the age of 35 or something like that. So you start losing that. So there's less support on the bones become brittle. Then if you have a fall in old age, after postmenopause, you're going to look at things like broken hips, broken bones, and all that sort of stuff. And for somebody who's working in aged care, you definitely don't want to break a hip. A lot of them don't go home; they go to nursing homes. Like, it can be really impactful. So I'm very aware of that. I've looked after so many people from it. So the things you can do is, you don't have to have dairy either. Dairy is definitely not always the best. But there are some whole foods that actually do have calcium in it. I think, like, I've got chia seeds and some yummy things you can make that are actually in whole foods. So what you're doing is when you're doing weight resistant, you're building that muscle up and strengthening. So there's your bone. That muscle is going to really pull tight on it. So it's going to give you better balance, less likely, decreasing the risk of falls. And if you do fall, you got a better chance after doing you've got to do it like the rest of your life. And we make it fun, it's slow, and when I'm doing the weights and all that, I'm listening to my body. I don't count. If I count, I get very competitive with myself, and then I start stressing out and putting more stress in my body and all that. So I just listen, and I'll just do it. All right, that feels enough. Do you know what I mean? I might do 3 sets, I might do 2 sets, I might do 1 set, I might only do it 2 times, I might do it 10 times. I don't really know, because I just listen to my body and do that. And the reason why I'm doing the weight and all that kind of thing is I want to look after myself and start creating a healthier body. I know what it's like to be really sick and lose your independence and everything. And now that I got it back, I'm like, oh my god, I'm just so grateful and so appreciative. So and Dave and I haven't had we met when we had 5 children. So as the kids get older, now that I'm more healthy, we want to go camping, we want to go hiking. There's things we want to do once, empty nesters and all that sort of stuff. Well, we want to go out and do things. So it's planning now for the future. And so weight resistance is one of the best things you can do. You won't bulk up unless you're doing it like crazily. If you look at me, you would not think I do weights, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm really at a place of loving my body and so grateful for my body, and FU society patriarchal that I need to be skinny because skinny brings happiness and healthy. Actually, some of the, especially when I was in clinic, with naturopathy and Western herbal medicine, it was amazing how many skinny or underweight women came in and were more unhealthy than people that are classed as overweight. So, just because someone's skinny, according to society's standards, does not mean that you are healthy. Some of them can be the most unhealthy, especially if they're not eating and starving their body and of nutrition. A lot of them malnutritioned. You know what I mean? So, yes. Anyway, so let's quickly go through some list of am I in perimenopause or not. So, most common ones, and I mentioned earlier about changes in periods. We also do get them checked by your doctor. Night sweats. When I was on Zoladex, my night sweats were feral. They would wake me up. They'd be so intense, and like they kind of like nearly. It felt like I was having an anxiety attack as well, because that it was just so heavy and just so overwhelming. But now and before the Zoladex, it was like I'd have a shower before I go to bed, but then I would wake up in the morning, and it's not like our house was overheated or anything like that, and I'd wake up smelling a BO, which is so not normal. I'm not a really sweaty BO person unless I'm out working in the sun, in the heat, especially up here in south, in the tropics at the minute. It is just overheat. So my night sweats is, I know if I've had a really sweaty night, because I wake up stinking of BO. So you may not realize you're getting night sweats because they're not waking you up, but you're waking up with BO and stinking. Weight gain for no reason at all. So that means you just put on weight, but nothing's changed. Your diet hasn't changed, exercise hasn't changed, work hasn't changed. It's just like you're looking at the food and it's jumping on your hips. It's because your metabolism is slowing down. You do need to eat less smaller meals, maybe for you. We call it aligned eating, Dave and I, because it's about eating what's right for you, because not all healthy food is healthy for everyone. Some healthy food is quite dangerous and unhealthy and can be causing a lot of sickness and unease and dis-ease in your body, because you're thinking that this particular healthy food is good for you when it's not. All right, so weight gain's generally around, especially around the stomach. Come on, some of us had babies and surgeries, and oh my god, like actually it's amazing. I've noticed of like how I automatically suck this tummy in. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even know I'd do it. Like it's a subconscious thing. It's because we're told to suck our tummy in. Yeah, like after 4 babies and everything that's going on, that's not going to happen, But and the reason why around the gut too, and it's not really good getting extra fat around your trunk and like on the torso of your body, because it's putting more pressure on your organs. But a lot of it comes into the stomach because of the cortisol. That's where it's stored. Brain fog, just it feels like your head's in the clouds. Because the hormone balances, it changes your brain, it changes your body. Your body is going through like, it's kind of like a caterpillar. You eat, turn into a caterpillar, eat, turn in, cocoon, your chrysalis. They turn to goop pretty much in there and come out a butterfly. That goop part, perimenopause. So increase in PMS, so your symptoms may feel a bit more exaggerated, more intense. That's like I was stressed out yesterday just from the school, the tape, and because it feels very rushed at there, and they're not good with teachers are lovely, but the place is, yeah, wow, it's really disgraceful. Like in all the study I've done, it's probably the most stressful I've done. I love study, I find it fun, but this is not fun. So, but I noticed afterwards, like I was like, oh, it's like I've been having anxiety and panic attacks all day, but it wasn't. It was just that something little stressful can feel massive, and that's because of those hormones going through your body. The anger and rage, again, it's that cortisol, that huge rush, like all of a sudden it's like, that's a new one. That's a big one. Acne, so especially it's kind of like what you were going through your teenage years. It's kind of like it's coming back, right? So is there correlation or patterns from your menopause, perimenopause, to when you're going through puberty? And a lot of unresolved issues come up too. Hence why I'm doing counselling. All right, so itchy, crawly skin, like sometimes feeling like you've got bugs running up and down your skin. I get itchy skin, always thing. But also too, drinking more water can help that, and hydrating and all that kind of stuff, and creams. So anxiety is another symptom, but it could be that you already have anxiety. Like I already had anxiety, but it can be exacerbated. Like I said, little things into big things. Something little happens, but it's kind of like the end of the world, and your body's like, and all that kind of stuff. Vaginal dryness. That's again because all estrogen helps with all of that. Great thing is coconut oil is great lube. You can ingest that. So therefore, a lot of lubrications and all that sort of stuff, they're not ingestible, but you're putting them on your skin and your main, your private parts. So yeah, we use coconut oil, fractionated coconut oil, because it's already runny. It's beautiful. You can eat it in your food and all that. Like it's a great one to cook with because it needs a lot more heat to oxidize. You know, so things like with vaginal dryness, so intercourse may be a lot more painful. Some women, their skin can get that fine and thin, and it can sort of like just get little tears in it. So again, definitely get it checked out. And another one, crying more. Yeah, I noticed that. More teary. Again, the emotions up and down. It's like, teenagers, they're up and down and all over the place and moody and cranky, and so is perimenopause too. Thinning of hair. So that is another one. Actually, I did notice, see here, it's thinned out. It's always thinned out through pregnancy there. And it's got like little short bits. And I have really thick hair, like especially here, like really over the top. Like I have an undercut to try and keep the heat down, but I am noticing some thinning of hair. Again, perimenopause related. I don't wash my hair. Part of with this whole change of life and lifestyle is over the years we've been learning to sorry, decrease the toxins we use in our house and on our body. So one of them for me was shampoo and conditioner. I've always had, like, this is all natural greys. I haven't had to dye my hair for a long time. I cut my own hair. Probably frizzy actually. I normally straighten it to make it more manageable because it's so thick. But I have not used, it does need another wash. I use bicarb and vinegar, and I have a homemade oil. It was made for Dave's beard, but I actually use it. So, it's really my hair's, this is the longest and thickest it's ever been, because normally I can't have it long or thick because it's too heavy and it hurts. So really got into the natural stuff, and that's really, my hair's grown the longest, the best it's ever been, and it's from using the bicarb water, and using an oil. So, but yeah, hair thinning. You get hair thinning on your head where you don't want to. I just got to put it up because it's so thick and it's so hot. And then there's other things like facial hairs. Oh my god. Pardon me, and my girlfriend have such a laugh, and they just grow. Like you can check it in the morning, and then later on there's this big black hair. Okay, for you it might look like a big ginormous hair. Most people don't see them unless they're really close. But seriously, like I have in our ensuite, where the window is, I have a mirror in there. And when the sun comes around in the arvo, I'm out there with my tweezers looking and plucking, and it's amazing how quick they freaking grow, even in my arms and all that sort of stuff. So Maybe getting thin in hair of some places, but you're getting the facial hair. So yeah, so I do need to get a and also to your eyes too could be another one. Not hair in your eyes, but eyes. Well, I know my eyes are blurry and they're not as good as they used to be as well. But definitely going to look again in a magnifying mirror and light just to really see them, because as you're trying to look close, it can be hard. So body aches, the body just aches and sore and for no reason. Irritability, again, that's kind of in with the mood. Fatigue, so feeling tired a lot more. And, I'm sure there's sleep patterns in there as well. So, insomnia can be another one. Again, that comes with the stress and the cortisol issues. But fatigue, like, drag your ass all day, then get to bed and you can't sleep. I used to have it a lot. However, the medication I'm on helps me to sleep, and I do have melatonin as well. And I like the melatonin too because it's not just melatonin is just not for sleep and stuff. It has like anti-inflammatory properties and a few other things. So it was really great for my endometriosis. Fatigue, yep. So bloating is another one. So a lot of digestive upsets. We're saying about the weight gain, your metabolism slows down. But if you've got things like a leaky gut, where the wall around your stomach is permeable, so things can come in and out. And around the sides are like all these little cells, and they're supposed to be just nicely sort of put together. But what happens with a leaky gut? Literally, it's those gaps, those cells kind of open up, and things like bread, and say like people with gluten sensitivities, will eat it, and that food they will come out of your gut. Literally, it is a leaky gut, literally. And then things like with gluten, because I know I have gluten sensitive, it's gone in, and then the body's gone, oh, that's a foreign object, immune system's triggered, quick, get that gluten. And then it kind of sets up in your body that is an invader. So every time you eat gluten, your body, your immune system response is triggered and all that kind of stuff. So it's really good to get on top of that. Good digestive health. Yeah, I could talk more about that. Change in taste. So some women get change in taste, and an unusual one too is things like, so when we talk about the mouth, some people get like a burning mouth or a burning tongue. I haven't had that. Gum issues, dry mouth. Yes, I get that. It's horrible, but I think that's my medication. Yeah, burning tongue or mouth. So yeah, so lots of even changes in the gums, an increase to sensitivities, and I noticed this too, like the gluten, but I think that was set off from something else. Um, but it might be things like smells, sounds. You might be more sensitive to smells. Like for me, I know like perfumes, deodorants that are fragrance, because fragrance is poison. That sets me off. Like it just sort of feels like I'm being suffocated and I have trouble breathing. Not to anaphylaxis, it's just a sensitive. I've noticed my foods, I was getting a lot sensitive to foods, especially processed foods and all that sort of shit. Very dense, very low, if any, nutrients in it. So yeah, I know sound, and like I did a post the other day about silence is gold, and that's how I've noticed sound is another one. It can just trigger me, and it's just like, yeah, I'm very sensitive to sounds. Bladder changes, so things like incontinence, just any changes, again, get it checked out first, because you never know what's really going on. So definitely get it checked out. So bladder changes, you might be having trouble going to the toilet and voiding, weeing. You might be having accidents. So, especially when you cough and sneeze, still got to do the crossover legs. So, yeah, so bladder changes isn't a common one. Joint pain. So, I know like fingers, yeah, especially in the knuckles and that, but it's good to get check out if it's arthritis or not. Loss of libido, which we talked about before, mood swings, because up and down with those hormones, migraines and headaches. So I think I had my first migraine at 12 and I was hospitalized. I've had the odd one or two, like I cannot have white wine. Every time I have a sip or a bit of white wine, I haven't had it in a long time now, long time, because I found each time I had white wine, I get a massive headache to a migraine, and it got worse each time, so I don't. So, and I do notice I get more migraines, or in between a headache and migraine. So when I get that kind of migraine, I feel like it's pressure on the eye. Kind of feels like I'm having a stroke. No, I'm not. You know, there's that pressure and just I don't know. It's like, I just know the feeling. So I find, you know, especially with I had one the other week, and then you know I've got endo pain, so I'm sort of like, oh, because I had hysterectomy, but my ovaries still there. I still get the period, like I'm still getting period cycles without the bleeding. So yeah, that was just before I realised the endo flared up and all that. So hot flushes, and again, everyone's different, and it depends on how you're triggered. So for example, when it's really cold and you'd love a hot flush, I don't get them. I get really cold. I really feel the cold. But when it's warm or hot, like so it's already warm hot, then I get hot flushes, so I'm hotter on top of it. You know, even just walking little one into school and out, it's like it's not even a big walk, and I'm sweating profusely, like dripping, like you know, I call it my mustache because I'm always plucking it. You know, the sweat there, and especially if you've got glasses in there, you know, and just pouring off me and that. So you know, so heat is a trigger for me. I know drinking alcohol can be a trigger. You know, you find like sensitive, so you might find yourself a bit more sensitive to alcohol. They do say alcohol, smoking, red meat, processed foods are some of your bigger triggers, but everyone's different. So this is why it's important to listen to your body so you can work out what triggers you. And then, you know, like we'll have some alcohol and I'll be like, no, I'll just have a little bit. The way Dave and I drink, it's like on the minimum. Like when we go to, when I've been in hospital, there's so many hospital stuff. In the past, you know, it's always asked how much do you drink, and I'm like, oh, we might have a can or two. But when I say a can, I'll say Jack Daniels. Dave and I share it. Like as I got older, the hangover and all that sort of stuff, I don't like it. And it takes longer to get over these days as well. But with the perimenopause, I know that is a trigger for me. So when I go to have an alcohol, like I go like, no, this is actually peppermint tea too. It's not alcohol. Um, you know, I'll look at it and go, do I want that? There's a chance that I could have a flare, like a hot flush. It could exacerbate my peri symptoms. Sometimes I go no, and sometimes I'm like, fuck it, I just want to enjoy it. So, you know, um, yeah, this is why being aware of it, you can make choices, informed choices that works for you. Breast sensitivity. Oh my god, my breasts at the minute. I said to Dave, I said, it's kind. They feel like they did when I was a teenager and getting periods, like that, or when you're pregnant. Oh, I know I'm not pregnant. You know, they feel sore, sensitive. My nipples even moving in the bra because like they've got razor blade cuts on them. And it's big, and I'm like, because I was saying to Dave the other week, I'm like, oh my god, my boobs are bigger. What the hell? I feel like I was a teenager, and but if you don't sit like I was as a teenager, and then yeah, looking at my symptoms and tracking them, it looks like I would be having a period or it's coming up ovulation to a period. So you know, noticing those things. So they're the days depending on what I wear. I'm very self conscious of them. So, some unusual symptoms. So, cold flushes. So, instead of hot, you get really cold. And I found in winter when I was on the Zoladex and having the hot flushes, I'd get really hot and then I'd be dripping in sweat. And then the hot flush would subside and I'd get really cold because the point of sweating is to cool your body. So, when your body's hot, one of its cooling mechanisms is to let out water to cool the body down. So, you know, you go from hot flush to a cold flush. It's, oh, that was really too bad, terrible. So, cold flushes, tinnitus, which is that ringing in the ears, um, dry, itchy eyes. And I do get watery eyes, which can be a sign of dry, itchy eyes. Again, your body's trying to produce more to compensate, but it sort of overcompensates. So, you know, I do have just drops from the shop. Ceylon drops, I think they are. Can't remember. I have looked, I just don't remember. And every now and then I put them in my eyes just to sort of, because they feel gritty, to do that. Brittle nails, heart palpitations. I have heart palpitations. They're not as bad as they used to be. They were really bad when I had really low iron and I needed an infusion. Um, Again, sometimes when the hormones drop, cortisol goes up, you know, it's fastening of the heartbeat. But again, I have had my heart checked because of this. I did go to the doctor and I was explaining these heart symptoms and that, and she was in like, before we give you the iron, I want to check your heart. Like, that's not normal. My heart is fine. So again, you know, if you're getting that, get it checked. You want to make sure that you're doing, you know, there's a lot of people that not until they're late adults that they found they were born with a heart defect, you know, so it's always good to get it checked. Clumsiness. Is another one. I know I've always been clumsy around my period. Sometimes some women are, like I'll walk into walls. We've been in a house for many years and I'll still go to cut the corner or walk in the door and I'm like, oh God, who put that there? So clumsiness is one. Bruise easily. I know I'm a good one for bruise easily. Like it looks like Dave gets worried because it looks like I beat you or something. And I'm like, I don't even know where half the bruises come from. Like, and I think the car door, end of the car door nicked me a couple of weeks ago. It was a massive bruise and it's still got a bit of a mark there. But always good to get checked. I've been checked for blood disorders. I'm all good. Forgetfulness, as we talked, as you've seen me, confusion, lack of focus, like just really struggling to focus. Like, so this can really affect people in jobs. You normally focus on your job, but you can't. So you're having trouble focusing, so you're not actually able to perform. I know in the UK, Davina McCall is, I think she's an actress or something over in the UK, and she's making a lot of talk and a lot of getting awareness about perimenopause. So if you're more into the HRT, that's a great one to go see. Check her out. But again, just remember it's overseas, so it could be slightly different for here. I don't have this one, electric shock. So some people feel like they're getting electric shocks in their system. Like I can feel tingly. Sometimes like I can sit, like I do get the shade, so I don't know if you can see it there. I can see it. I just don't have surgeon's hands. I was gonna say electric shocks, yeah, tingling, numbness. Again, get it all checked out. Could be something else, but if it's not, it generally is. And changing body odor. That's what I was saying about before, like night sweats. And I notice now my sweating, you know, it just smells, and that's really bacteria on the skin and all that. But because I'm sweating more than I used to, especially at the moment with all this heat, it's really setting it off, and it's just gross. It feels gross. It's like Dave says he can't smell it on me, and nobody's ever said anything, but it's one of those things, if you smell it on you, then you kind of think everyone can smell it, not hear it, Jesus. Um, so that's a bit of an extensive list. On some things, there's small, so if you've got some, pop them down. Everyone's unique in the journey, it's not going to be the same. Just think of it like puberty. Didn't go to the doctors. It's just one of those changes of life, the moods that, like if you've got teenagers, you'll know. Or even, if you've got young girls, around that 7 or 8. So scary to think that, girls that age are getting into that maiden phase, they're getting periods, they're growing up and that. So, but a lot of that can be through diet and all that. But anyway, that's another story. So, if your doctor doesn't, you don't need your doctor to tell you that you're in perimenopause. I mean, it is great, but if you're becoming aware of perimenopause, researching it, and you've had a health check and all that sort of stuff, and everything's okay and all that, generally it is perimenopause. So, and this is why it's important to learn about your body and get in tune with your body, because then you are more aware. At the end of the day, doctors, okay, so you're called a patient when you see a doctor, and the reason you're called a patient when you see a doctor is because you need to be patient while the doctor works out what's wrong with you. Doctors go through a process of elimination. Sometimes they might have an idea of what something is. All the times they have no idea. So let's just order this test, this test, this test, so we can rule out things, all right, to see if we can get to the bottom of it. So that's why it's patient. So you be patient while the doctor experiments and works out what's going on for you. So at the end of the day, you know your body better than anybody else. You have lived with your body day in, day out from the moment you're conceived, right? Nobody knows your body better than you, right? So if you think something's wrong, you tell the doctor, and don't let them tell you otherwise. At the end of the day, you're the patient. Without patients, they don't exist. Some doctors do have very bad, and I'm saying it nicely, bad bedside manner, and don't know how to communicate with humans in a everyday situation. I've seen a lot of doctors talk to a lot of patients, and the doctor leaves, the patient looks at the nurse and goes, what did they say? None of it made sense. And that's part of a role as a nurse, is having to explain to patients what the doctor's talking about. So you don't need a diagnosis. Like, you don't. It's not a dis-ease. It is even though it's a natural part of life, it's a natural change in life. We all go through it if we get to that age. All those signs as women at birth. even though it's natural to change life, it may not feel natural. Actually, for me, it definitely didn't feel natural. As I get more in tune, listen to my body, and really contemplate things, and really pulling my education stuff and my experience together, I'm learning more about my body. And I even said to Dave, oh, the other day, might have been yesterday. That's why it's good to write shit down. And I even said to him, I said, oh, actually, I think my perimenopause symptoms actually have calmed down a lot, especially since my surgery, and since going on the new medication. I'll talk about that's another video. Well, actually, I'll say it's actually a antidepressant I'm on to help with nerve pain, for my pelvic pain, so chronic pelvic pain, and it has made a huge difference. It was a bonus that it had a positive effect on my mental health. It actually showed me how mentally constantly thinking, even positive stuff, constantly on the go with your thoughts. You just constantly think about this, this, this. It was all over the place. This medication has actually calmed my mind down. I can be a bit more focused. So a lot of doctors will recommend an antidepressant. It's up to you. Look into it. I've noticed it's given me a bit of weight gain, and I'm like, and I'm more active in my life than ever. So even though it's giving me weight gain, I'm okay to trade that. So I've got weight gain. I'm tired a lot, and again, it's a side effect of the medication. But the medication lets me function as normally as possible. I'm present with my husband. I'm present with my family. I could study. My business is working. I'm getting things done. So it's kind of like, yeah, I can do that. Weight's another one I want to talk about, but in another video in society. That's another video for another day. So no, so you don't, after all that, you don't need to, but the thing is also too, if you want that diagnosis and you want to be checked, you go to your doctor and get a referral to a gynecologist. Go find a gynecologist. You'll normally have to have a referral in Australia. In the public system, they've changed now. They'll make you get like a pap smear, all these tests done. So you sort of build up some like stuff, like a case or whatever. Then it goes to that specialist. So you can go to a gynecologist. There are some, they're hard to find. A gynecologist, a lot of them do with fertility, but some will do the perimenopause, so the hormones and all that sort of stuff. But so if you do want to diagnose, go to a gynecologist. They are, though they're not all of them, a lot of them are highly educated, but their main focus is your reproductive system. A doctor is general. That's why they're called general practitioner. So if you want to know more nitty-gritty stuff and more details about a certain thing in your body or certain area or whatever's happening, disease or whatever, you go see a specialist. So that's another way you can actually, if you want to get diagnosed and want to have a professional that's able to look into that and give you a diagnosis and check you out, that's the way to go if you want that. Like I said, I did get mine from a gynecologist, but I was at the point before he done it, I'm like, I'm not fighting with the medical system. Like, yes, they can tell me yes or no, but there's no test. So for it, like postmenopause, there is, because you'll see your hormones. The hormones will be whatever the ratio is and all that sort of stuff compared to when you're, well, in perimenopause. So perimenopause, because it drops all day, like you can get it tested one day and it's great, it's in balance. The next day it might drop, or that night, that evening, it might shoot up. So it's constantly sort of going like this. So it depends on the when I think it just depends on the day or the time, not even the day, of where your hormones are, and nobody can predict that. So again, it's good to get it all checked out, but you don't need that diagnosis. If you're feeling that and you have gone through and looked at it, and you're going, yes, I can relate to that, I can relate to that, probably going through the change of life. If you can, ask your mum or even aunties or grandparents if you can. I don't have that luxury. I do have a second cousin in the UK I talk a lot about and get a lot of details off her, but otherwise there's not much details I know. But ask them what it was like, you know. And also, too, I look back and go, when we're going, it's a general thing. Like when teenagers are going through puberty and the change of life, generally the mother's going through perimenopause at the same time. So you've got two highly hormonal people going, what the hell's going on? And the change of life and all that kind of stuff. It can be crazy. It can be volatile. It's it's pulled families apart. Like, this is why we need to be talking about perimenopause, because it destroys families, it destroys people's lives. Women will have suicided because they're just all over the shop and not coping and not knowing what's going on. You know, like, this should not be taboo. It's like death, another taboo one. It's not, it shouldn't be taboo. So that's part of my mission to, really get the word out there and also support women. We are opening up a membership in March. The doors will open on the 20th of Feb. It's $10. And we'll have a focus topic for the month. There will be Facebook. There's going to be in a Facebook Live. It'll be Facebook Live videos. Yeah, focus topic, a Q&A. We'll be doing a circle, so that's where we'll be doing a guided meditation and all that kind of stuff, and oracle readings, because that's what Dave will get in sometimes and give readings. He's a medium. It's $10 because you know what, life's expensive at the minute, and I'm here where Dave and I really sat down and really sat with this and felt into it, that our mission or purpose is not to make millions, it's to reach millions. So we've done it at this cost, so it's affordable. This shouldn't be for the elite. It shouldn't have an elite price on it or anything like that. Yes, we've already got ideas of things down the track that, but this will be our low pay point. So what is it? It's $10 a month, so it's like $2.50 a week. And that's it. I do have those qualifications. So, I really want to just build up that community of women and support and guidance through perimenopause. Yeah, so that'll be coming out. So I'll be doing a lot of stuff on that next and studying. So I hope you've enjoyed this event and this video. If you have any questions, please do ask, or clarity or anything like that. I can either answer in the comments, or if it's really personal, I'll probably private message. Sometimes, like doing readings for women, stuff comes up, and like abusive stuff, and I just get the feeling, no, this cannot be shared on this place, like in this way. So I'll private message in that. So, but yeah, got any questions or areas you want to know, let me know. Again, am I in perimenopause or not? Kind of, that's up to you to decide, and get in tune with your body and see what's going on, and also get a health check to make sure everything is good. Anyway, it's been way over an hour. I feel like I've only just touched the sides on this. Yes, I'm looking forward to getting my phone hopefully looked at over the weekend. Something's wrong with um, the audio part in it, more like the phone. So I need to get that fixed because I'm on the laptop, on the iPad. No, the computer, the desktop. But I really want the phone because I really want to get on here and do more, and especially share more in the Autumn Chrome membership. So anyway, I look forward to talking more and sharing more with you, and I hope this video has helped. Bye.